The Concordium's judgment chamber hummed with ancient authority, its crystalline walls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that had witnessed 1,000 civilizations rise and fall. Today, they would witness something unprecedented. Mira Thorne stood at the center of the vast hall, her weathered combat boots planted firmly against the polished obsidian floor. Behind her, pressed against her legs and trembling despite his best efforts to appear brave, was Roki, the smallest of the Vralcon alpha cubs. At barely 4 solar cycles old, he stood no taller than Mira's hip, his silver fur matted with fierce sweat. His oversized ears pinned flat against his skull. The mark of culling glowed crimson on his small forehead, a death sentence in the language of the Vralcon Empire. Too weak, too small, unworthy of the alpha bloodline. The 7 high arbiters loomed above them on their elevated dais, each representing the dominant species of the Concordium. The Vralcon representative, Elder Thor, was the largest, a mountain of muscle and fur, his 3 eyes burning with ancestral certainty as he gazed down at the trembling cub. The human disrupts sacred tradition, Thor's voice resonated through translation implants, though his native growls echoed beneath. Step aside, Lieutenant Thorne. The weak cub bears the mark. He will be returned to the soil, as has been done for 10,000 generations. Mira didn't move. Instead, with deliberate slowness, she reached up and pressed her palm against her own forehead. When she pulled it away, the same crimson mark blazed on her skin, drawn with the ceremonial dye she'd stolen from the Vralcon temple 3 days prior. The chamber erupted in chaos. Sacrilege! Thor roared, rising to his full height, his claws extending. You dare mock the culling mark? You dare! I dare nothing, Mira cut him off, her voice carrying the steel that had earned her command of humanity's first deep space reconnaissance unit. I claim ancient right, your own Concordium law. Article 47. Subsection 3. Any being who bears the mark may challenge the judgment through trial of worth. The Arxilian arbiter, a being of pure crystallized thought, shimmered with interest. The human speaks truth. The law is ancient, predating even Vralcon membership in the Concordium. That law was written for our own kind. Thor's fur bristled with rage. Not for humans? Mira's smile was cold. Funny thing about laws, Elder. They don't usually specify species. That would be discrimination. And the Concordium has very strict rules about that, doesn't it? She felt Rocky's small hand, really more of a paw, grip the fabric of her uniform jacket. His translator collar whispered, Mira, friend, don't. They'll kill you too. Mira reached back and squeezed his hand gently. She'd been embedded with the Vralcon military for 8 months as part of the human integration program. In that time, she'd watched Rocky endure the cruelty of his larger siblings, the disappointment in his father's eyes, the whispers that he was a genetic aberration. She'd watched him try twice as hard, train twice as long, only to be half as strong as the others. She knew that determination. She'd lived it. At 15, Mira had been the smallest recruit in her military academy class. The doctors had said her bone density was too low for combat service. The instructors had suggested logistics or communications. Everyone had marked her as insufficient. She'd graduated top of her class and earned more combat commendations than any officer in her generation. I accept trial of worth on behalf of Rocky, son of War Chief Thane-Kor, Mira declared. And I invoke the proxy clause. I will stand as his champion. The Arxilian shimmered again. Unprecedented. But technically permissible. Thor's laugh was like grinding stone. You think your soft human body can withstand the trial? It will tear you apart. Lieutenant, our warriors train their entire lives for such ordeals. Then it should be easy to watch me fail, Mira replied. Unless you're afraid I might succeed? The trap was set. To refuse now would be to show weakness, something no Vralcon could tolerate. 3 hours later, Mira hung by her fingertips from a blade-thin ledge, 400 meters above the trial ground floor. Her shoulders screamed, her fingers bled, and every muscle in her body felt like it was tearing itself apart. The artificial gravity well had been set to 2.3 times standard crushing for her. Normal for the Vral Khan. Below, Rocky watched with the assembled crowd, his small face pressed against the observation barrier. The first 2 trials had nearly killed her. The maze of razors had left her body covered in shallow cuts. The pit of submission had pitted her against a combat drone programmed with Vral Khan warrior tactics she'd won through pure stubbornness and what her opponent had failed to account for: human creativity in breaking rules. Now came the wall of ascension. Climb 400 meters of nearly smooth obsidian, with minimal handholds in crushing gravity. Most Vral Khan warriors with their superior strength completed it in 20 minutes. Mira had been climbing for 2 hours. Her right hand slipped. For a heart-stopping moment, she dangled by 3 fingers of her left hand, her body swinging in the heavy gravity. The crowd gasped, even those who wanted her to fail couldn't help but react. She gritted her teeth, swung her body, and caught another hold. Then another. She didn't think about the distance remaining. She thought about a small cub who'd once shared his ration pack with her when she'd been sick with Vral Khan fever. She thought about how he'd asked her what Earth was like, his eyes wide with wonder at stories of oceans and forests. She thought about every person who'd ever told her she was too small, too weak, too human. And she climbed. When her hand finally slapped the summit platform, the chamber was silent. Mira hauled herself over the edge and collapsed, her chest heaving, blood dripping from dozens of wounds. The mark on her forehead was smeared but still visible. Krozthor's voice was quiet when he finally spoke. "The human has completed the trial of worth." "Which means," Mira gasped, forcing herself to sit up. The Arxilian arbiter's voice rang with finality. "By ancient law, the mark is removed. The judgment of culling is void. The cub Rocky is deemed worthy." Rocky, Mira watched as medical drones descended to treat her wounds. Below, through the observation barrier, she saw Rocky's father, the mighty warchief Thane Kor, approach his smallest son. For a long moment, the massive warrior simply stared at the cub. Then he knelt, removing his own ceremonial blade, and placed it in Rocky's small hands. "The human has shown us," Thane Kor's voice carried through the chamber, "that strength is not measured in size alone. My son bears the mark of a champion's protection. He will train. He will grow. And he will remember this day." Steya. As medical drones carried Mira to recovery, she caught Rocky's eyes one last time. The small cub stood straighter now, holding his father's blade, the crimson mark fading from his forehead. He touched his hand to his chest, the Vral Khan gesture of eternal loyalty. Mira returned it, then closed her eyes. Humanity had been in the Concordium for barely 5 years. They were the smallest species, the weakest, the newest. But as word of this day spread across the stars, the galaxy would learn what Earth had known for millennia. Never underestimate someone who has everything to prove and nothing to lose. The smallest can become the fiercest, and humans protect their own even when their own has fur and fangs, and comes from a world 300 light-years from home.